Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Bello, and in this video we'll be discussing why your tone sucks. So there are quite a few reasons as to why your tone might suck. It can go from your amplifier, your pickups, the strings you're using, even your guitar cable. The length of your guitar cable matters in your tone. But for the purpose of this video, I am going to condense it down into the three main points why I think your guitar tone sucks. So the first topic is gain. I see gain and volume being used interchangeably all the time. Gain controls the amount of your guitar signal that hits the preamp stage of your amplifier. Okay, so the more gain you add, the more saturated your sound will be, your tone will be. Okay, so reduce the gain, you'll have less drive. Increase the gain, you'll get more drive, and you'll get that sound, that distorted sound that we all know and love. Okay, so here we have my AX8, and I'm modeling an Engel Savage amplifier. So I have the input drive around 6, overdrive 6, and master volume at 5. Okay, so this is how it sounds like. Okay, it's a pretty chunky tone. So what I see a lot of people, especially new guitarists, beginners, is once they get an amplifier that they love or a pedal they love, they just do this. They increase the drive here, increase the volume there. Yeah, let's go overdrive here, and an overdrive. Let's boost that up as well. Okay. And then they play the chord and it sounds so big. It sounds very fat, but apart from playing that power chord, the tone is not usable for anything else. I cannot do any tight stuff. I cannot do any other rhythm lines. It's just too muddy and too washed out. So here, I'll give you an example. It lacks pick definition. It lacks attack. It's just too washed out. It's extremely compressed, and I'm sorry, but the tone is not usable at this state. Okay, so let's go back to the way it was before. Okay, so we're back to the original 6 on the input drive. Okay, and this is a very acceptable tone. Okay, it's not too saturated, it's not washed out. You have pick definition. Okay, what happens when you boost everything again? It gets washed out. You'll get lots of noise. You'll need to put a noise gate, and it really doesn't help the situation all that much. Hey guys, so I was working on post-production for this video, and I thought it would be quite beneficial to show you how I get about setting my gain levels for a certain amp. Okay, so every amp reacts differently, so I am using an Engel, and I know that Engels are very, very aggressive amps. Let's start from 0, and we can work our way up. amazing. Okay, that's set up quite nicely. It's really chugging. Some amps carry a lot of weight in them and they produce a lot of flubbiness. There's something you can do to fix that. You can put a tube screamer or another overdrive pedal in front of your amplifier. I would put the drive on 0 because this is a very aggressive amp. It doesn't need more saturation. The only reason I'm using this is because of this low cut. Tube screamers have a low cut at around 700 Hertz, so that really does get rid of that flubbiness and makes your playing a lot tight. Generally, when you're playing lead guitar or lead lines, you'll be a little bit louder and more saturated. So let's raise the input drive just a little bit. Okay, so it needs to go a little bit higher. We want that note to sustain and sing out. So let's go, 7, why not? This sounds pretty good, 7.3. What I like to do for my lead lines is I like to add a little bit of delay. I don't want to overdo it because it's not a sound I'm going for. The only reason I'm using delay is to make legato lines even more legato and smooth them out a little bit. So we can hear it with delay now. It's a very slight amount. So that's how I'd have my lead channel set up. What I've just shown here was more in regards to, let's say, hard rock or metal, you know. But if we were to take, if we were to take, let's say, jazz or a pop song, even that we want to play on, you know, play a little bit of guitar on. And we put the drive way too low, so let's get an example here. Let's try this one. So this is a twin reverb. We put the input drive low, so the input drive is sort of like the gain on your amplifier. Okay, so. Now, what you'll notice with this is, depending on the context that's used, is that this is a very, very thin sound. Okay? This is an extremely thin and hollow sound. Okay, so if you're with a 3-piece band and you're playing guitar, it will sound very, very. It's going to sound very empty. You know, you want to fill in the frequencies a little bit. You want to cover a big spectrum, but with this, it's almost too sterile. Now, again, context is key. It depends on genre. It depends on where you're how you're playing. Are you playing with a full band, or is it a 12-piece band and you're doing a little bit of funk chords? You know, then you can get away with having a very, very hollow sound. You don't get into much of the people's way. You turn the mids down maybe a little bit. So gain is a very important one to get right, because either you'll sound too hollow, or you will be too saturated and overly compressed that your songs or your performance will lack any definition. And you will also get lost in the mix a little bit as well if you are overly compressed. Okay, so second topic that's very important. Funny enough, it's something I experienced not too long ago actually. So amp EQ and issues you'll face. Now this tends to happen a lot more with people using amp modeling, but what happens is that people set their EQ, so on their amp here they'll set their bass, mids, treble, brightness, all of those lovely stuff. They'll set all that up in their bedroom at bedroom levels, and they get the tone they like and they're happy with it. They go to a gig, they do their sound check, their line check. The volume will be boosted via either their amplifier directly, or it'll be mic'd up through a mixing desk. Either way, the sound may be amplified. And what they'll notice is that at high levels, the lower frequencies and the higher frequencies will be a lot more prominent, while their mids will seem to be a lot softer. When they're at home setting up their bass, mids and treble, they'll get it set up perfectly, and then they play, and the bass will be incredibly high, the treble will be incredibly high, it'll sound extremely bright, and also a lot of low end, which is something you don't want. This is physics for you, actually. So this is something called the Fletcher-Munson curve. So I'll put a graph up there. Okay, and what it shows is at low volumes, our ears are pretty bad at picking up lower frequencies and the higher up frequencies. Okay, our ears are pretty good at picking up frequencies around the 3.5 kilohertz range, which also happens to be the resonant frequency of our eardrums, or ear canals, actually, I should say. But you know what else is pretty good at producing 3.5 kilohertz? Your guitar. What we do know is once we increase the volume of our instruments, our guitar, or just sound in general, we hear the lower frequencies a lot better, and we hear the higher frequencies a lot better. So that is very important. Okay, this is something I had an issue with many gigs ago, was that I set up my Axe-Fx at home, set my bass, mid, treble the way I liked it, and rocked up to a gig and started performing. Okay, what I noticed was that whilst I was playing, my amp or my speaker sounded incredibly bright. Okay, it was so bright that I had to step away from my full range speaker that was behind me at the time. It was so painful, I had to step away from it. That's how much treble and brightness there was coming out. Okay, so the thing you need to take home from this is you need to set up your amp's EQ at stage volume. Now, stage volume is a very broad term because it could mean a very big stage or very small stage, but I'll just say set up your amp's EQ or your modeler's EQ at around 90 dB 90. Okay, so you don't want to set it up too low and you don't want to set it up too high because you'll come into issues. You want a nice balance, and 90 hertz is fairly balanced. So at around 90 to 100 hertz, the Fletcher-Munson curve tends to even out a little bit, so our hearing is a bit more even, okay, towards the frequencies we pick up. And the third topic, which doesn't get discussed a lot, which is a shame, is that you are comparing your tone to other tones. There's this quest to find the tone. So many people don't like their tones. I've swapped from physical amps to digital, back to physical, trying to find different tones, and I find this is an issue that beginner to intermediate guitarists face, and not so much pro guitarists. So you compare the tone that you have set up via your EQ on your amp or your modeler with a recording of a tune from your favorite artist. Now, what you hear on the record is not the tone of the artist that's playing, but the tone in the mix. You are hearing what the sound engineer wants you to hear. You're hearing the tone that has been molded by the sound engineer to work in the mix. So if you were to get an isolated track of that guitar part, you'll see how the tone just feels very, very different than it does when it's in the mix. You can't expect the tone of your guitar to be the same as the tone of another guitarist that has been mixed and mastered. And it's a shame because I believe a lot of great tones have been discarded due to the belief that those tones were unsuitable, when in fact they would have been very suitable. So I only have 3 topics in this video. Perhaps I'll expand upon some other topics in another future video. But if you guys enjoy content like this, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.